All right, in this video, I'm going to show you the only 3 things that you actually need to do to get to 10% body fat. It is not complex. It is not complicated. I won't say it's easy, but it is simple. You really only need to do these 3 things. I did these 3 things to get to 10% body fat. I continue to do versions of these 3 things to maintain my body fat percentage, or at least stay close and still enjoy my life, maintain my results. And I do the same 3 things with my clients. Of course, there's lots of things that we can sprinkle in as far as extras and whatnot, but you really only need these 3 things. I've tested it out many, many times. I continue to use it on myself, and this stuff works. So let's make it simple, okay? So here, well, look in the photo here just for a quick reference in case you don't really know me or my story here. As far as recently, the photo on the left was me from, that would have been 2 winters ago. I was 215 pounds at the heaviest. You know, mostly held 213, 215. And then the photo on the right, I'm actually after the fat loss phase, after it's done. So I've put on a little bit of weight about a month after, because you can see my shoulders and arms have filled out quite a bit. I did, if you watch the video that I did last time, a few days ago, just showing basically how to get from here to here, or at the very least, I showed you kind of like the last 12 weeks of getting to here, which is actually doesn't look that sexy. And you have to go through a lot of phases of feeling small, feeling not very jacked, and not even feeling lean either. So this is just the ideal look, right? But you don't look that way the whole time. So anyways, that being said, here's how to get to that point. 3 things. Nutrition. So everyone sees that. They're like, yeah, we get it, dude. Food. Specifically, what you're going to need is you're going to need a calorie deficit. I don't really care which diet you do. I do not care. I think mine is the best. I think my setup is the best because it doesn't actually involve specific foods per se. That's very individualized to the person. But it is set up and structured in a way that we have the precision and accuracy of macros. So I either do macros or meal plan with my clients, okay? That gives us structure, accuracy, and precision, predictability, so we aren't guessing. And then what we do is we pair this with intuitive style meals, okay? And we do 2 of these a week, okay? So if you do this appropriately, and I have a system for how to do this, you do this appropriately, it gets you into, okay? What color do we want for this? It gets you into a calorie deficit. Doesn't really matter how you do it, as long as you do it in a way where you're like, you know what, I can rock with this. It's not meant to be easy. Everyone thinks that, oh, I want it sustainable, I want it blah, blah. That doesn't matter nearly as much. You just need your setup to achieve, first of all, none of that matters, first of all, primarily. It really doesn't. This matters more than anything, okay? That matters more than anything else that you do afterwards. So all this is talk of sustainability and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter, okay? So calorie deficit's what you need. I prefer using the macro-intuitive approach, which is my name for my protocol, which again pairs the macros, meal plan, structure, precision of that. So we know we have numbers, we have data we can go off of, and then I pair it with 2 untracked meals per week, where we use intuitive, habit-based kind of style stuff. And I think that's the best way to do it in the immediate term, and it's good for long term because it's setting us up for the long term. So either way, you do your diet however you want to do it. You just make sure that it gets you into a calorie deficit. You do that, you're going to be rocking, okay? That's the most important thing. Now, oh my goodness, how do I change this? Okay, so number 2, steps. Now, you can do this however you want, okay? You can do this through running. This is really just a function of movement, calorie output, okay? That's the whole point here, because when we can have a form of calorie output that is simple, easy, consistent, low impact, it's just way simpler and easier to do day to day. It's much, much easier to keep that calorie output high. Most people are like, yeah, I'm walking here and there, blah, blah, blah. No, we need numbers, we need quantification, we need measurability, and we need consistency. Okay, so for me, I'll just give you an example. I do 12K. Well, not 12Ks. 12K. I get most of my clients to 10K or above, depending on where they are at, but I try and get everybody, if they're starting low, I try and get them at 10K to start. And that really gets the engine rolling really, really well, okay? That's the whole point, is we want calorie output high, consistently high, every single day. That's the idea. Because if we can do that, that helps to basically keep us in a calorie deficit without relying on the nutrition side of things, step number 1, without relying on nutrition to starve us. You're already going to be hungry. But if you're not consistent with calorie output, with using steps to do so, I'm biased, but using movement to keep our calorie output high, if you're not really focusing on that day to day, and you're like, I'm just moving here, moving there, blah, blah, I'm generally active, That's not good enough, because then on your nutrition, you're gonna have to pull back so much that you may struggle to be consistent with it. So that's why I like, they kind of work symbiotically. Steps keep calorie output high, nutrition keeps calorie intake low. Paired together, it gets us into a calorie deficit that is smooth. Not easy, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's smooth, it's measurable, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm in it. There's no guessing, I'm in the deficit, now I just gotta hang out in here and just execute. You know what I'm saying? So that's the idea here. That's number 2. You could, this can be running, it doesn't really matter. It could be rowing if that's your thing. Could be swimming. Maybe you play a ton of sports or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It can't be resistance training because it is very different. Of course, it's all in the same thing of exercise, I guess. But I really, for argument's sake, I don't look at it the same because it is because they do have different objectives here. Okay, so number 3. This is the last one. This is our training, specifically resistance training. Okay. Now, the point of this is literally one thing, at least in the short term. Again, and that's the point here, is we're trying to get 10% body fat, we're trying to get lean, we're trying to see abs. That's what we're trying to do. We need to preserve the muscle while we are in a calorie deficit, because if we're in a calorie deficit, we are catabolic, our tissue is breaking down. So that means our body's going to take tissue wherever it's easiest. We want it to be hard to take from muscle. How do we do that? We train. So if we train, our body's ideally going to be taking tissue away from our body fat. You'll lose a little bit of muscle, that's normal, but you will primarily be losing body fat, okay? And that's the idea here, okay? So keeping protein high from in our nutrition is going to help with this as well. There's a bunch of little things that we can do, but training specifically, this is the guy. This is what we're trying to do, is preserve muscle. Gaining muscle will happen a little bit with some people, maybe. That's as like confident as I can say that. So that doesn't happen aggressively, because think about it, we're pulling away food. You don't have the building blocks to create muscle, so we are relegated now to just preserving it. Strength, a little bit different. Overlaps with muscle growth, sure, but it's not the same thing. Strength is primarily just function, right? A function of performance, really. So with strength, we can build strength and increase strength while we are losing body fat. So that is totally possible, and we should try to be doing that. You should always be trying to gain strength, but understand that, like, I'm probably not going to be building much or any muscle during this phase. I'm just looking to adequately stimulate the muscle to preserve it, okay? We do not need more. Most people are going to be great off 3 to 4 times per week, okay? 45 to 60 mins. What I like to do is, I got a fancy name for my protocol, okay? I just call it 3% training method. Simple, because it's 180 minutes per week. You can do more if you got it, but you don't need to. You really don't. A lot of people will think, I need to do more, I need to do more. No, you don't. You don't need to train 5, 6, 7 days a week. If you have the time, 5 can be great, because you can even like spread out your training, so you don't have to be in the gym long at all. You can really decrease how long you're in there for. Get in, get the work done, get out. But realistically, we want to not be living in the gym, and we don't need to. So 3% training method, I call it that because it really ends up being 180 minutes is like 3% of your total time awake throughout the week, which is very doable no matter how busy you are. Everyone thinks if I want to get lean, I gotta do all this crazy training. No, you don't. 3 to 4 times per week, 45, 60 minutes. Think about what that actually involves. It's like, that's like 5 to 7, depending on how you structure the training, 5 to 7 exercises per session. Minimal rest, but intelligently prescribed rest where it should be, right? And then utilizing things like drop sets or density sets like clusters, myo reps, and rest pause, which I'm a big fan of the rest pause stuff. Then you're gonna achieve this whole goal here, which again, this is the point, is preserving muscle, right? Don't overthink it. We literally just need to preserve muscle. So that's really all we need to do. So here's the 3, right? All summarized here. So number 1 is going to be cal deficit. Doesn't matter how you do it. I do not care. Macrointuitive protocol or some version of that, in my opinion, is the best way for most people. But you can do it however you want. You want to do something crazy like the carnivore diet or the keto diet, you are totally allowed to do that. You are a grown adult. I think it's stupid, but I don't think you're stupid. I just think that's stupid. Don't take it personal. Calorie deficit. The second one is going to be steps. That's going to be cal output. I say that because you don't have to use steps. I just like it because it's measurable, easy to do. I could literally just go walk right now, and I don't have to get hyped up or put on any gear or whatever. I just go move. I walk to the grocery store, coffee shop, come back. Like, that's very doable. Go to my walking pad in the basement, get it done. There's an extra 20, 30 minutes of steps, which ends up being 2, 3, 4,000 steps on the day. Boom, easy. And that is effective, and it works very, very well. So let me just add a note here. You want to set a target, by the way. Okay. If you need to know how to set a calorie deficit, you can leave a comment below and I can help you, or you can DM me on Instagram. Also, just look back on some of my videos because I've broken down macros and how to set calorie deficits and whatnot for people in videos prior. So just check the channel for that. But also, I'm very happy to help. So you can always just DM me. Third one is going to be training. Hard training. It has to be hard because the goal is to preserve muscle. Okay. That's it. That's all you need to do. You do not need to do more. You can do steroids. I use testosterone. I've talked about this in other videos. That helps. You don't need to do that, though. People convince themselves they need to do that. You absolutely do not need to do that. This is what you need to do to get to 10% body fat, have abs, get lean, and you can do that in 12 to 16 weeks, depending on when your starting point is. Totally doable. This is very realistic. It's aggressive. You'll be hungry, and it works. But it is this simple. You don't need 1,000 different supplements. You do not need to use hormones. You don't need to do high-intensity interval training. You don't need Stairmaster over elliptical, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to train 5-6 days a week and live in the gym for hours. Not true, okay? This is all you need. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. DM me on Instagram at I am Tim Walcott. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We got lots more videos coming down the pipe.